The Hebrew Bible. The 5 books of Moses. Leviticus Chapter 23. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the Israelites, and you shall say to them, These are the fixed times of the Lord, which you shall call sacred convocations. These are my fixed times. 6 days shall tasks be done, and on the 7th day an absolute Sabbath. A sacred convocation, no task shall you do. It is a Sabbath for the Lord in all your dwelling places. These are the fixed times of the Lord, sacred convocations, which you shall call in their fixed time. In the 1st month, on the 14th of the month, at twilight, a Passover offering to the Lord. And on the 15th day of this month, a festival of flat bread to the Lord. 7 days you shall eat flat bread. On the 1st day, a sacred convocation you shall have, no task of work shall you do, and you shall bring forward a fire offering to the Lord 7 days. On the 7th day, a sacred convocation, no task of work shall you do. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the Israelites, and you shall say to them, When you come into the land that I am about to give you, and you reap its harvest, you shall bring a sheaf, first of your harvest, to the priest, and he shall elevate the sheaf before the Lord to be acceptable for you. From the morrow of the Sabbath, the priest shall elevate it. And on the day you elevate the sheaf, you shall do an unblemished yearling lamb as a burnt offering to the Lord, and its grain offering 2/10 of an ephah of semolina mixed with oil, a fire offering to the Lord, a fragrant odor, and its wine libation, 1/4 of a hin, and a bread and a roast grain and fresh ears you shall not eat until this very day, until you bring your God's offering, an everlasting statute for your generations in all your dwelling places. And you shall count you for the morrow of the Sabbath, from the day you bring the elevation sheaf. 7 whole weeks shall they be. Until the morrow of the 7th Sabbath, you shall count 50 days, and you shall bring forward a new grain offering to the Lord from your dwelling places. You shall bring 2 loaves of elevation bread, 2/10 of an ephah of semolina they shall be. Leavened, they shall be baked, first fruits to the Lord. And you shall bring forward with the bread 7 unblemished yearling lambs, and 1 bull from the herd, and 2 rams. They shall be burnt offering to the Lord, and their grain offering and their libations, a fire offering, a fragrant odor to the Lord. And you shall do 1 he-goat as an offense offering, and 2 yearling lambs as a communion sacrifice. And the priest shall elevate them with the bread of first fruits as an elevation before the Lord. With the 2 lambs they shall be holy for the Lord, for the priest. And on this very day you shall call a sacred convocation. It will be for you no task of work. You shall do an everlasting statute in all your dwelling places, for not finish for your generations. And when you reap the harvest of your land, you shall not finish off the edge of your field in your reaping, nor gather the gleanings of your harvest. For the poor and for the sojourner you shall leave them. I am the Lord your God. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the Israelites, saying, In the 7th month of the 1st of the month you shall have a Sabbath, a commemoration with horn blast, a sacred convocation. No task of work shall you do, and you shall bring forward a fire offering to the Lord. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Yet on the 10th of this 7th month is the day of atonement, a sacred convocation it shall be for you. And you shall afflict yourselves and bring forward a fire offering to the Lord. And no task shall you do on this very day, for it is a day of atonement, to atone for you before the Lord your God. For every person who is not afflicted on this very day shall be cut off from his kin. And any person who does any task on this very day, I shall make that person perish from the midst of his people. No task shall you do, an everlasting statute for your generations in all your dwelling places. An absolute Sabbath it is for you. And you shall afflict yourselves on the 9th of the month in the evening. From evening to evening you shall keep your Sabbath. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Speak to the Israelites, saying, On the 15th day of this 7th month, a festival of huts 7 days to the Lord. on the first day a sacred convocation. No task of work shall you do. 7 days you shall bring forward a fire offering to the Lord. On the 8th day you shall have a sacred convocation and bring forward a fire offering to the Lord. It is a solemn gathering. No task of work shall you do. These are the fixed times of the Lord, which you shall call sacred. Convocations to bring forward a fire offering to the Lord, burnt offering and grain offering, sacrifice and libation, each thing on its day. Besides the Lord's Sabbath, and besides your gifts, and besides all your votive offerings, and beside all your free will offerings that you give to the Lord. Yet on the 15th day of the 7th month, when you gather in the field of the land, you shall celebrate the Lord's festival 7 days. On the first day a Sabbath, and on the 8th day a Sabbath. And you shall take you on the first day of the fruit of a stately tree, fronds of palm trees, and a branch of leafy tree and willows of the brook, and you shall rejoice before the Lord your God 7 days. And you shall celebrate it as a festival to the Lord 7 days in the year, an everlasting statute for your generations. In the 7th month you shall celebrate it in huts. You shall dwell 7 days. All native Israel shall dwell in huts, so that your generations will know that I made the Israelites dwell in huts when I brought them out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. And Moses spoke the fixed times of the Lord to the Israelites. Chapter 24. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Charge the Israelites that they take clear beaten olive oil for the light to kindle a lamp perpetually. Outside the curtain of the covenant in the tent of meeting, Aaron shall set it out from evening till morning before the Lord perpetually, an everlasting statute for your generations. On the pure gold lamp stand he shall set out the lamps before the Lord perpetually. And you shall take semolina flour and bake it into 12 loaves. Each loaf shall be 2/10 of an ephah. And you shall place them in 2 rooms, 6 to a row, on the pure gold table before the Lord, and you shall place clear frankincense together with a roll, and it shall become a token offering for the bread, a fire offering to the Lord. Sabbath day after Sabbath day they shall be laid out before the Lord perpetually. On behalf of the Israelites, an everlasting covenant, and it shall be Aaron and his sons, and they shall eat it in a holy place, for it is holy of holies for him. From the Lord's fire offerings, an everlasting statute. And the sons of an Israelite woman, he being the son of an Egyptian man, went out among the Israelites, and the son of the Israelite woman and an Israelite man brawled in the camp. And the son of the Israelite woman invoked the name, vilifying it. And they brought him to Moses, and his mother's name was Shelomith, daughter of Dibri of the tribe of Dan. And they left him under guard until it would be made clear to them by the word of the Lord. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, Take out him who vilified beyond the camp, and all who heard shall lay their hands on his head, and all the community shall stone him. And to the Israelites you shall speak, saying, Should any man vilify his God, he shall bear his offense. And he who invokes the Lord's name shall be doomed to die, and the community shall surely stone him, sojourner and native alike. For his invoking the name he shall be put to death. And should a man mortally strike down any human being, he is doomed to die, and he who mortally strikes down a beast shall pay for it, life for a life. And should a man maim his fellow, and he has done, so shall it be done to him, a fracture for a fracture, an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. As he has maimed a human being, so shall he be maimed. And he who strikes down a beast shall pay for it, but he who strikes down a human being shall be put to death. One law shall there be for you, for sojourner and native alike shall it be. For I am the Lord your God. And Moses spoke to the Israelites, and they took out him who had vilified beyond the camp, and pelted him with stones. And the Israelites did as all the Lord had charged to Moses. Chapter 25. And the Lord spoke to Moses on Mount Sinai, saying, Speak to the Israelites, and you shall say to them, When you come into the land that I am about to give you, The land shall keep a Sabbath to the Lord. 6 years you shall sow your fields, and 6 years you shall prune your vineyard and gather in its field. And in the 7th year there shall be an absolute Sabbath for the land, a Sabbath to the Lord. Your field you shall not sow, and your vineyard you shall not prune. The aftergrowth of your harvest you shall not reap, and the grapes of your untrimmed vines you shall not pick. There shall be an absolute Sabbath for the land, and the land's Sabbath shall be good for you and for your male slave, and for your slave girl, and for your resident hirelings who sojourn with you, and for your cattle, and for the beasts that are in your land. All its yield shall be for food. And you shall count your 7 Sabbath of years 7 times, and the days of the 7th Sabbath of years shall come to 49 years. And you shall send round a blasting ram's horn. In the 7th month, on the 10th month, on the day of atonement, you shall send round a ram's horn through all your land. And you shall hallow the 50th year, and call a release in the land to all its inhabitants. A jubilee it shall be for you, and you shall go back, each man to his holding, and each man to his clan, and you shall go back. It is a jubilee, the 15th year it shall be for you. You shall not sow, and you shall not reap its aftergrowth, and you shall not pick its untrimmed vines, for it is a jubilee. It shall be holy for you. From the field you may eat its yield. In this jubilee year you shall go back, each man to his holding. And when you'll sell property to your fellow, or buy from the hand of your fellow, you shall not defraud or one another. By the number of years after jubilee you shall buy from your fellow, and by the number of years of yield he shall sell to you. The larger number of years, the more you shall pay for its purchase, and the smaller number of years, the less you shall pay for its purchase, since he is selling you the number of yields. And you shall not defraud each other, and you shall fear your God, for I am the Lord your God. And you shall do my statutes and my laws, you shall keep and do them. And you shall dwell on the land securely, and the land will give forth its fruits, and you will eat fullness, and you will dwell security on it. And you say, what shall we eat in the 7th year, if we do not sow and do not gather in your yield? I have charged my blessing for you in the 6th year, and it will produce yield for the 3 years. And you shall sow in the 8th year, and eat of the old crop until the 9th year, until its yield comes. You shall eat the old, and the land shall not be sold irreversibly. For mine is the land, for you are sojourning settlers with me, and in all the land of your holdings you shall allow a redemption for the land. Should your brother come to ruin and sell his holding, his redeemer who is related to him shall come and redeem what his brother sold. And should a man have no redeemer, and his hand attain and find enough for its redemption, he shall reckon the years it was sold, and give back the difference to the man to whom he sold. And he shall go back to his holding. And if his hand cannot find enough to pay him back, what he sold shall be in the hands of the buyer till the jubilee year, and it shall be released in the jubilee. And he shall come back to his holding. And you should a man sell a dwelling house in a walled town, its redemption shall be till the end of year of its sale. A year its redemption shall be. And if it is not redeemed by the time a full year has elapsed for him, the house in the town that has a wall shall pass over irreversibly to its buyer for his generations. It shall not be released in the jubilee. And houses in the hamlets that have no walls all around shall be reckoned as part of the land's open fields. They shall have redemption and be released in the jubilee. And as to the towns of the Levites, the houses of the towns of their holding, the Levites shall have a redemption forever. And what is redeemed of the Levites, the sale of house in the town of his holding, shall be released in the jubilee. For the house of the Levites' towns are their holding in the midst of the Israelites, and the unenclosed fields of their towns shall not be sold, for it is an everlasting holding for them. And should your brother come to ruin, and his hand buckle under you, and you shall hold him a sojourning settler, and he shall live under you, you shall not take from him advance interest or accrued interest, and you shall fear your God, that your brother may live with you. You shall not give him your silver for advance interest, or for accrued interest, and shall not give him for your food. I am the Lord your God, who brought you out of the land of Egypt to give you the land of Canaan, to be good for you, to be God for you. And should your brother come to ruin under you, and be sold to you, and you shall not work him the work of a slave, like a resident hireling, he shall be under you. Till the Jubilee year he shall work under you, and he shall be released from you, he and his children with him, and go back to his clan and to his father's holdings he shall go back. For they are my slaves, whom I brought out of the land of Egypt. They shall not be sold in a slave's sale. You shall not hold crushing sway over him, and you shall fear your God, and your male slave and your slave girl, whom you may have from the nations that are around you, you may buy as male slave or slave girl. And also from the children of the settlers sojourning among them, from them and from their clan, that is with them, you may buy whom they have begotten in your land, and they shall become a holding for you, and you shall hold them in a state for your children after you, to inherit a holding forever. Then you may work, but your brothers the Israelites, no man shall hold crushing sway over his brother. And should the hand of a sojourning settler with you attain means, when your brother comes to ruin under you, and is old to a sojourning settler under you, or to an offshoot of a sojourner's clan, after being sold, he shall have a redemption. One of his brothers may redeem him, or his uncle or his cousin may redeem him, or any of his own close kin from his clan may redeem him, or his hand may attain that the means, and he shall be redeemed. And he shall reckon with his buyer from the year of his sale to him till the Jubilee year. And the silver of his sale shall be according to the number of the years, like the time of a yearling. He shall be under the other. If there are still many years according to them, he shall pay back his redemption from the silver of his purchase. And if few years are left till the Jubilee year, he shall reckon for him according to its years. He shall pay back its redemption like a hireling. From year to year he shall be under you. No one shall hold crushing sway over him before your eyes, and if he is not redeemed through any of these ways, he shall be released in the Jubilee year, he and his children with him. For mine are the Israelites as slaves. They are my slaves whom I brought out of the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God.